If you've ever felt ashamed of how much you long for people, the closeness, the reassurance, the simple need to know someone's there, I want you to consider this. You're not needy. You're wired for connection. That ache you've been taught to hide isn't a weakness in your design. It's the oldest and truest part of it. Somewhere along the way, needing other people got recast as a failing. We built a whole culture around the idea that the strong stand alone, that independence is maturity, that wanting someone too much makes you a burden. So you learn to perform self-sufficiency. You shrink your needs, you apologize for reaching out, you tell yourself you should be fine on your own by now. And underneath all that performance, you carry a quiet shame about the most human thing there is. The simple, bone-deep wish not to be alone. Think about a campfire for a moment. The kind people have gathered around for 100,000 years. One flame on its own, out in the open, is a fragile thing. The wind gets at it, the cold presses in, and it gutters and dies. But pull the embers close together, let them lean on one another, and something changes. Each one keeps the others burning. The heat they share is greater than anything any single coal could hold alone. That's not weakness. That's how fire survives the night. Scatter the embers to prove they're independent, and you don't get a stronger fire. You get a cold hearth and a lot of grey ash. That's closer to what's happening in you than the story you've been told. You were never meant to be a single flame, burning bravely and alone. You were built to be one ember among many, leaning in, giving heat and taking it. The need you feel to be close to people isn't a flaw in a self-sufficient creature. It's the central feature of a creature that was always meant to live warm, in the company of others. You're not too much. You're just made of the same stuff as every human who ever survived a winter, and they survived it together. Let me tell you about someone. I'll call him Daniel. Daniel prided himself on needing no one. He'd built a life that asked nothing of anybody, paid his own way, solved his own problems, never leaned, never called when he was struggling. He thought of it as strength. When friends offered help, he'd wave them off. When he was low, he'd go quiet and disappear rather than admit he wanted company. And from the outside, it looked like he had it all handled. The truth was that Daniel was lonely in a way he couldn't even name, because he'd spent so long calling his loneliness independence. What changed for Daniel was small and almost accidental. He got sick. Nothing dramatic, just a bad flu, and a friend turned up uninvited with soup and stayed an hour. And for the first time in years, Daniel let himself be looked after. He felt the thing he'd been starving for and calling a weakness. It wasn't until he let someone in that he understood the cost of all those years of standing alone. The strength he'd been so proud of had been a wall, and the wall had kept out the one thing he actually needed. He stopped trying to need nobody, and slowly his life filled up with warmth. He'd been refusing his whole life. There's real science under this. Researchers in attachment theory have shown that the human need for close, secure bonds isn't a childish phase we're meant to grow out of. It's wired into us from birth and runs the entire length of our lives. The same studies found that when people have a reliable person to turn to, they're actually braver, not weaker. Securely attached people explore further, take more risks, recover faster from setbacks. The need for connection doesn't make you fragile. It's the very thing that gives you the courage to go out into the world at all. We are not strong despite our need for each other. We are strong because of it. So if you've been ashamed of how much you long for people, here are 3 things I want you to understand about the way you're built. First, the need was never the problem. The hiding of it was. A need you can name and speak out loud becomes a bridge to someone. A need you bury becomes a wall between you and everyone. The loneliest people are rarely the ones who need the most. They're the ones who've convinced themselves they're not allowed to. Second, reaching out is not a withdrawal from someone's account. We've been taught to fear being a burden, as if every time we ask for support we take something and leave the other person poorer. But connection doesn't work like a transaction. It works like the campfire. When you let someone be there for you, you don't drain them. You give them the warmth of being needed, of mattering, of belonging to your life. Letting yourself be helped is a gift in both directions. Third, independence and connection were never opposites. The goal was never to need no one. The goal is to be a whole person who chooses to share that wholeness with others. To be able to stand on your own and to lean when you're tired, and to know that both are strength. The healthiest people aren't the ones who need nobody. They're the ones secure enough to need people well. So stop apologizing for the warmth you carry toward other people. You were never needy. You were simply built the way every human has always been built. To live close, to share the heat, to make it through the cold nights leaning on one another. The loneliness was never proof of your strength. It was the absence of the thing you were made for. The researcher Brené Brown once said that connection is why we're here. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. You were never failing at being self-sufficient. You were succeeding all along at being human. That's not a need to be ashamed of. That's an ember reaching for the fire it belongs to. You were never needy. You were just wired for connection, the way the warmest things always are. So stop standing alone in the cold to prove a point, and let yourself lean back into the light.